What if you work your entire life believing you were doing everything right but still end up failing? That's the reality for Willie Luhmann in Death of a Salesman. And honestly, it's not just a story from the past, it's something a lot of people are still experiencing today. In the play, Willie Luhmann is a traveling salesman who strongly believes in the American dream, the idea that if you work hard and are well liked, you will be successful. He spent his whole life chasing that idea. But as the story goes, we see that things don't turn out the way he expected. He struggles financially, loses his jobs, and starts to feeling like he's wasting his life. His relationship with his son Biff also falls apart, partly because Willie pushed unrealistic expectations onto him. So, instead of success, Willie ends up facing disappointment, confusion, and failure. The play basically shows that the American dream does not always work the way people think it does. And something interesting is this idea is not outdated at all. It's actually relevant today. For example, one big part of the American dream has always been owning a home, but today that's becoming harder and harder. According to the recent new housing prices and interest rates have made difficult for many people, even those with full-time job to afford a house. You can literally do everything right, like go to school, get a job, and work constantly, and still not be able to reach out the goal. That's very similar to Willie. He worked his entire life expecting stability and success, but in the end, it just didn't happen. Another example is a job security. While Will is fired after years of loyalty to his company, which completely destroyed his sense of identity. And today, we see something very similar happening. Large companies like Amazon and Google have laid off thousands of workers. Those are people with strong resumes and experience, but they can still lose their jobs suddenly. It shows that hard work and dedication don't always guarantee stability, just like in Willie's case. On top of that, there is the issue of debt and the rising cost of living. Today, many Americans are dealing with high credit card debt and increasing expenses like rent, groceries, and gas. Even when people are working full time, they still feel like they are falling behind financially. Willie constantly worries about paying bills and supporting his family at the same. Financial stress is something a lot of people still experience today. If you look at data of housing affordability, it becomes even clearer. Recent charts show that a large percentage of Americans cannot afford a typical home anymore. This visually proves that the American dream, at least the version Willie believed in the story, is becoming harder to achieve for many people. So, even though Death of Salesman was written decades ago, its message still connects strongly to the today world. The pressure to succeed, the belief that hard work guarantees results, and the fear of failure are still very real. What the play really shows is that the American dream can be misleading. It sets expectations that are not always realistic, and when people cannot reach them, it can lead to frustration, stress, and even identify struggles, just like Willie experienced. That is why this story still matters. It's not just about one man's life, it's about a system of ideas that continues to affect people today.